The Xyxathraxian scout ship hung invisible above Boston's skyline, its crystalline hull refracting the last rays of sunset. Inside, Commander Vexthor studied the readings from their biological scanner with growing frustration. Their mission was simple: identify potential threats among the primitive species below. Yet something about this planet's inhabitants defied their usual classification methods. "Secondary scan complete, Commander," reported Science Officer Myrtis, her metallic scales shifting in the dim light. "Subject Madison Knight continues to demonstrate anomalous cellular activity." Dr. Madison Knight worked alone in her laboratory at Sterling Medical Research Center, unaware of the alien eyes tracking her every movement. Through their advanced surveillance, they watched her pipette a dark red substance into a series of test tubes, her movements precise and practiced. "Interesting," Vexthor mused, mandibles clicking. "Her genetic structure shows signs of modification, yet our database cannot identify the source." He zoomed in on her computer screen, where complex molecular diagrams danced across multiple windows. What could a primitive be doing with such advanced genetic research? Madison pushed back from her microscope, rubbing her tired eyes. At 35, she looked younger than her years, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, lab coat pristine despite the late hour. She reached for her coffee cup, now cold after hours of intense focus. The aliens watched as she pulled up a secure file on her computer. The file name caught Vexthor's attention: Project Immortalis. Phase 3 Trials. "Commander," Myrtis's voice carried an edge of concern. "These energy signatures, they're reminiscent of predecessor technology." Vexthor's inner eyelids snapped shut in surprise. The predecessors had been their greatest adversaries, a species so advanced they had seemed like gods. The Xyxathraxian Empire had spent centuries hunting them to extinction. The thought that their technology might have influenced this backwater world was deeply troubling. "Initiate the Purge Protocol," Vexthor ordered. "We cannot risk another predecessor resurgence." In her lab, Madison felt a sudden chill. She looked up from her computer, an uneasy feeling crawling up her spine. For generations, her family had carried a genetic gift: enhanced senses that went far beyond normal human capabilities. Right now, those senses were screaming danger. She reached for her phone, fingers hovering over a number she'd been warned to use only in the direst emergencies. Before she could dial, a soft hum filled the air. The purge beam struck with surgical precision. To the alien scanning equipment, it appeared to be a perfect hit, a clean, instantaneous termination. They watched Madison Knight crumple to the floor, her vital signs flatlining. "Target eliminated," Myrtis confirmed. "No trace of the energy signature remains." But their sensors, advanced as they were, missed something crucial. As Madison's body lay still on the laboratory floor, her cells underwent a dramatic change. Microscopic structures passed down through centuries of careful breeding began to activate, responding to her death in ways the aliens couldn't detect. Miles away, in a secure underground chamber, an ancient computer system suddenly came to life. Words appeared on a dusty screen. "Bloodline termination detected. Contingency protocol initiated." Vexthor made his final notes on the mission log. "Potential threat eliminated. Subject showed signs of accessing restricted technology. Recommend continued surveillance of facility." The scout ship shimmered and vanished into the night sky, its crew satisfied with their successful intervention. They had no way of knowing they'd just set in motion events that would shake the foundations of their empire. In her lab, Madison Knight's body waited to be discovered, her research scattered across her desk. Among her papers, a small notebook contained her family tree, tracing her lineage back through centuries to a name that would have given the aliens pause: Vlad Tepes II, better known as Dracula. And in her blood, changes were already beginning. Changes that would soon force both humans and vampires out of the shadows and into a war for Earth's survival. The Xyxathraxians never knew they'd killed Dracula's grandchild, but they were about to find out exactly what that meant. The news of Madison Knight's death spread through channels older than modern civilization. In a penthouse overlooking Central Park, Marcus Blackwood's wine glass shattered in his grip when the alert reached him. The ancient vampire stood motionless as centuries-old Bordeaux dripped from his fingers, his tablet displaying a simple message. Bloodline terminated. House Tebs. Assemble the council, he commanded, his voice carrying the weight of 300 years. Within seconds, encrypted signals pulsed through networks hidden from human eyes, summoning the leaders of the 12 vampire houses. In the Carpathian Mountains, Alina Corvinus closed the leather-bound tome she'd been studying when her phone chirped. The vampire archaeologist had spent decades documenting their species' true origins, and now her worst fears were materializing. She reached for a worn journal, its pages filled with sketches of impossible machines and notes in her grandfather's handwriting. "It's happening," she whispered to the empty library. "They've returned." The gathering took place in an underground chamber beneath Manhattan, a space shielded from both conventional and supernatural surveillance. 12 chairs surrounded a table carved from a single piece of obsidian, each seat occupied by a vampire elder whose apparent age belied their true nature. Marcus stood at the head of the table, holographic displays floating above its polished surface. Dr. Madison Knight was found dead in her laboratory at 3:47 a.m. Initial police reports suggest natural causes, but our sensors detected an energy signature unlike anything on Earth. "Show us," demanded Victor Rhodes, his weathered face bearing scars from battles fought before the American Revolution. The hologram shifted, displaying complex wavelengths in crimson light. Alina leaned forward, her eyes widening. "These patterns, they match the fragments we found in the predecessor ruins beneath Budapest." "Impossible," breathed Sarah Winters, the youngest of the elders at merely 150 years. The Zixothraxians were supposed to be myths, stories to frighten vampire children. "They were never myths," Alina countered, pulling up ancient texts on her tablet. "Our ancestors knew the truth. We're not supernatural creatures. We're the result of predecessor bioengineering, created to guard humanity against threats from beyond the stars." The chamber erupted in whispers. For centuries, most vampires had believed their origins lost to time. Only the highest echelons knew the truth, that their enhanced abilities came from alien manipulation of human DNA. Madison was close to a breakthrough, Marcus revealed, displaying her research data. She'd nearly discovered how to safely activate dormant predecessor genes in ordinary humans. Her work could have bridged the gap between our species. "And now she's dead," Victor growled. "The last of Dracula's direct bloodline, eliminated just as she was about to fulfill our ancient purpose." Alina stood, her voice carrying the authority of centuries of research. "The Zixothraxians didn't just kill Madison. They've declared war on both our species. We've hidden among humans for generations, guiding their development from the shadows. Now we must stand with them openly." "The humans will never accept us," Sarah protested. "We've kept ourselves secret for good reason." Marcus raised his hand, silencing the debate. "We no longer have a choice. The Zixothraxians will return in force. They never leave potential threats unchecked. Humanity needs our knowledge, our strength, and our technology to survive what's coming. Then we implement the Revelation Protocol," Victor declared, naming the contingency plan created centuries ago for this exact scenario. One by one, the elders nodded their agreement. Across the globe, vampire agents embedded in governments, military organizations, and research facilities prepared to reveal themselves. The time for hiding was over. In her laboratory, Madison Knight's body had already been removed, but her legacy was just beginning. The vampires had watched humanity grow from superstitious villages to sprawling civilizations. Now they would stand beside them as equals, facing an enemy that threatened both their species. The Shadow War was about to step into the light. General Michael Hayes stared at the vampire standing in his Pentagon office, his coffee growing cold on his desk. You're telling me that not only do vampires exist, but you've been secretly working for the Joint Chiefs for the past 50 years. Colonel James Blackwood, or rather, James Blackwood II, as he'd been known in his previous 2 generations at the Pentagon, stood at perfect attention, his pale features unchanged by the general's disbelief. That's correct, sir. And now, I need you to authorize Operation Nightfall. Before Hayes could respond, his secure screen lit up with simultaneous alerts from bases worldwide. Similar revelations were occurring in military installations across the globe as vampire agents activated their sleeper protocols. In London's MI6 headquarters, in Beijing's military command, in Moscow's defense ministry, centuries of carefully placed supernatural assets were stepping out of the shadows. The timing isn't coincidence, Blackwood continued. Dr. Knight's murder was the first strike in an invasion we've spent centuries preparing for. Across the world, other conversations were taking place. Elena Corvinus stood in a hidden vault beneath the Vatican, displaying ancient artifacts to wide-eyed cardinals. Your predecessors knew the truth, she explained, touching a crystalline device that hummed with otherworldly energy. They kept our secrets, understanding that some threats come from beyond Earth's heaven. The device projected a holographic star map, showing the advancing Zexathraxian fleet. The cardinals crossed themselves, centuries of doctrine colliding with cosmic reality. Meanwhile, in Boston, Sarah Winters led a team through the ruins of Madison's lab. The police had finished their investigation, finding nothing unusual. But vampire senses detected what human instruments missed. Here, Sarah called, her enhanced vision spotting microscopic traces on the floor. She pressed her palm against the tiles, and ancient biotech in her cells responded to residual energy signatures. Images flooded her mind. The invisible ship, the deadly beam, Madison's final moments. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Project Bloodforge approved. Bring everything to Mountain Site Echo. In the Rocky Mountain facility designated Echo, Marcus oversaw the largest gathering of vampire scientists in history. They worked alongside cleared human experts, centuries of hidden knowledge finally being shared openly. The predecessors didn't just modify our DNA, Marcus explained to the assembled human scientists. They encoded their entire technological database into our genetic structure. Every vampire carries within them the knowledge to recreate their civilization. We just needed humanity's innovation to unlock it. Dr. Rebecca Chen, a quantum physicist, studied the complex molecular diagrams being extracted from vampire blood samples. This is incredible. The DNA itself is a storage medium for technical data. But how did Madison figure this out? Because she was unique, Elena answered, entering the lab with a stack of centuries-old journals. The Teep's bloodline was the predecessor's masterwork. They coded the key to unlocking all their secrets into Dracula's DNA, passed down through generations to Madison. Screens around the facility lit up with urgent alerts. Orbital defense satellites were tracking multiple objects entering the solar system. The Zexathraxian scout fleet had returned. We're not ready, Sarah protested, looking at their half-finished prototypes. Marcus smiled grimly. That's where you're wrong. He pressed his palm to a scanner, and hidden doors slid open throughout the facility. Inside were weapons and devices that seemed centuries ahead of their time, the results of careful vampire guidance of human technological development. We've been preparing humanity for this moment since the Industrial Revolution, he explained, subtly pushing technological development in the right direction. Now we just need to combine it with what we carry in our blood. In orbit, the Zexathraxian ships approached Earth, their sensors detecting strange energy signatures across the planet. Inside their crystalline vessels, alien commanders felt the first stirrings of unease. Something had changed since their scout mission. The primitive world below was awakening in ways their logic couldn't predict. The blood memory of an ancient species was about to change the course of galactic history. Deep within Mountain Site Echo, Dr. Rebecca Chen stared at the impossible. Through her microscope, She watched as vampire blood cells merged with experimental nanites, creating hybrid structures that defied known physics. Behind her, Marcus Blackwood nodded in approval. Madison's research was the key, he explained, pulling up her encrypted files on a holographic display. She discovered how to stabilize the merger between human technology and our enhanced biology. The predecessors designed us to be more than weapons. We're living bridges between species. The facility hummed with activity. In one chamber, vampire scientists with centuries of experience worked alongside human engineers, their combined knowledge creating devices that seemed like magic. Through reinforced windows, Rebecca watched as Sarah Winters demonstrated their latest breakthrough, phasing through solid matter using abilities that vampire blood had gifted to modify human cells. Incoming priority message, the facility's AI announced. Multiple Zix-Thraxian vessels have entered the asteroid belt. Estimated time to Earth orbit, 6 hours. Marcus's expression hardened. Show me the latest test results from Project Bloodforge. Holographic screens materialized, displaying data from their prototype trials. The first attempts to merge vampire abilities with human soldiers had been catastrophic. Cellular breakdown, massive organ failure, but Madison's research had shown them where they went wrong. The solution was in her blood all along, Rebecca murmured, reviewing Madison's notes. The Teep's lineage carried markers that act as stabilizing agents. Without her death, we might never have discovered this. In the testing chamber, Alina Corvinus supervised as the first successful hybrid soldier demonstrated enhanced abilities. Captain Michael Santos, formerly of the Marine Corps Force Recon, moved with impossible speed and strength, his eyes glowing with the same crimson light that marked a vampire's hunting gaze. Heat signature is stable, Alina reported, monitoring his vitals. Cellular integrity at 98%. The night protocol is working. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the facility. Above ground, orbital defense stations tracked multiple weapons firing from the alien fleet. Their targets, military installations across the globe. They're not waiting, Marcus growled, his ancient features hardening. They mean to cripple conventional forces before launching their main assault. He turned to Rebecca. How many soldiers can we enhance with the current supply? Maybe 100, she answered, checking their reserves. We'd need weeks to scale up production. We have hours. Marcus pressed his palm to a security scanner, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, 12 stasis pods hummed with power. The council donated their blood, pure vampire genetic material, undiluted by centuries of breeding, combined with Madison's stabilization formula. Rebecca's eyes widened as she understood. We could enhance thousands. Through secured channels, orders flew to military bases worldwide. Selected soldiers, already screened for genetic compatibility, were transported to emergency facilities. The vampire elders had prepared for this moment for centuries, building hidden laboratories beneath every major military installation. In orbit, the Zix-Thraxian fleet's first strike reduced human air bases to rubble. Their scanners showed Earth's conventional defenses crumbling. Victory, they calculated, was assured. They didn't detect the enhanced soldiers rising from underground bunkers, their bodies now hosting powers that had passed into legend. They missed the squadrons of experimental aircraft, their hulls incorporating vampire biological material that could phase through energy shields. In Mountain Site Echo, Marcus watched the global deployment through neural feeds. They think they're fighting a primitive species, he said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. They forgot that humans have something the predecessors valued above all else, the ability to adapt, to take the impossible and make it reality. Rebecca checked the final preparations for mass enhancement procedures. Do you think we can win? Marcus smiled, his fangs catching the light. The Zix-Thraxians killed Madison thinking she was just another human scientist. They never knew she was Dracula's grandchild, never understood what her death would unleash. He turned to watch as another wave of hybrid soldiers emerged from the enhancement chambers. They're about to learn that some mistakes carry a terrible price. Above, the alien fleet moved into attack position, unaware that the easy victory they anticipated had died with Madison night. Captain Michael Santos crouched in the shadows of a destroyed hangar at Andrews Air Force Base, his enhanced vision tracking the crystalline shapes of the Zexathraxian ground forces. Their overconfidence was obvious. They moved in standard formation, expecting no real resistance from what they considered primitive prey. Eagle Squadron, ready for deployment, he whispered into his neural comm. The vampire blood coursing through his veins had transformed his entire body into a weapon. Around him, 30 other enhanced soldiers waited, their eyes glowing with supernatural power. Above, the alien fleet dominated the sky, their massive ships casting dark shadows over the burning ruins of Earth's conventional military bases. They never noticed the sleek, black aircraft rising silently from hidden underground hangars across the globe. "Remember your training," Marcus Blackwood's voice echoed through their neural network. "The enemy relies on logic and patterns. Show them chaos." The attack began without warning. Santos led his squad straight through the hangar's concrete walls, their phase-shifted bodies passing through solid matter as if it were mist. The alien sensors registered nothing until enhanced humans emerged in their midst, moving faster than their targeting systems could track. In orbit, Commander Vexthor received the first panicked reports from his ground forces. "Impossible," he hissed, mandibles clicking in agitation. "Their weapons are passing through our shields as if they don't exist." A squadron of Earth's new hybrid fighters suddenly materialized inside his fleet's formation. Their hulls, infused with vampire biological material, ignored the laws of physics that the Zexathraxians had built their defenses upon. Energy beams passed harmlessly through them as they launched missiles that phased through crystalline armor before rematerializing inside alien ships. Blood and honor. The ancient vampire battle cry echoed across all frequencies as Elena Corvinus led a wing of fighters through the heart of the alien fleet. Centuries of night hunting had prepared vampire pilots for this moment, their enhanced reflexes making their aircraft dance between enemy vessels like shadows in candlelight. On the ground, Sarah Winters directed the defense of Washington, D.C. from a mobile command center. "They're adapting," she warned, watching alien forces adjust their tactics. Second wave incoming. The Zexathraxians had deployed their elite shock troops, warriors engineered to counter any natural biological advantage. They emerged from their landing craft like chrome insects, their armor gleaming under the red dawn sky. Santos and his squad met them head-on. Enhanced soldiers moved with impossible speed, their vampire-human hybrid nature allowing them to shrug off wounds that would have killed either species alone. Combat evolved into a blur of supernatural power and military precision. "Their patterns are changing," Rebecca Chen reported from Mountain Site Echo, monitoring the battle through neural feeds. "They're trying to predict our movements." Marcus smiled grimly. "They can't predict what they don't understand." Execute Protocol Midnight. Across the battlefield, enhanced soldiers activated their final transformation. The vampire blood in their veins responded to ancient genetic commands, temporarily unleashing their full supernatural potential. Their eyes blazed crimson as they tapped into powers that had inspired humanity's darkest legends. In orbit, Vexthor watched in horror as his carefully planned invasion dissolved into chaos. His sensors showed human soldiers moving at impossible speeds, healing from mortal wounds, passing through solid matter. Fighter craft ignored the laws of physics, while ground forces demonstrated abilities that seemed more supernatural than scientific. "Full retreat," he ordered, watching another capital ship explode from within. "We need to regroup and analyze their capabilities." But the defenders of Earth had no intention of letting them escape. Enhanced fighters pursued the fleeing alien ships, while on the ground, Santos and his soldiers eliminated the remaining invasion forces with brutal efficiency. As the sun rose over the devastated battlefield, Sarah received confirmation. The first wave of the invasion had been repelled. But in the distance, their sensors detected more Zexathraxian ships entering the solar system. The real war was just beginning. The captured Zixithraxian commander lay strapped to an examination table in Mountain Site, Echo's secure wing, its crystalline exoskeleton reflecting the harsh laboratory lights. Alina Corvinus stood before it, her ancient eyes studying its alien features, while Rebecca Chen monitored its neural patterns. "You killed Madison Knight," Alina stated, her voice carrying centuries of contained fury. "But she wasn't your first target, was she?" The alien's compound eyes shifted, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. The genetic anomaly designated Knight was one of many. "We have cleansed dozens of worlds of predecessor contamination." Marcus Blackwood stepped from the shadows, his presence making even the alien warrior twitch involuntarily. "Show us," he commanded, pressing a clawed hand against the creature's telepathic node. Images flooded their neural network, worlds burning, civilizations falling, and everywhere the same pattern: the systematic elimination of beings carrying traces of predecessor DNA. The Zixithraxians hadn't just destroyed their ancient enemies, they'd been methodically erasing all evidence of their existence from the galaxy. "Transmission intercepted," the facility's AI announced suddenly. "Multiple Zixithraxian battle groups converging on the solar system. Estimated arrival: 48 hours. In the command center, Captain Santos studied the tactical displays with Sarah Winters. The holographic projections showed waves of enemy ships, far more than they'd faced in the first battle. "They're not underestimating us this time," he observed grimly. "No," Sarah agreed, "but they're still missing the point." She pulled up Madison's research files, highlighting a sequence of genetic markers. "They think they're preventing a predecessor resurgence. They never understood that the predecessors weren't building weapons. They were creating guardians." Deep beneath the Vatican, Alina's archaeological team made a breakthrough. In a chamber untouched for millennia, they found a message encoded in crystals that responded to vampire blood. The holographic recording showed a predecessor scientist speaking to future generations. "We chose humans for their unique capacity to evolve, to adapt," the ancient alien explained. "The Teep's lineage was our masterwork, a perfect fusion of human potential and our technological legacy. When that bloodline finally merged with humanity's own technological advancement, our children would be ready to face the darkness we could not defeat." In Mountain Site Echo, Rebecca's latest analysis of Madison's research revealed something extraordinary. "Look at these patterns," she called to Marcus, highlighting complex molecular structures. Madison wasn't just studying vampire DNA. She was completing the predecessor's work. Her death didn't stop the project. It activated a failsafe they built into her genes. The facility's sensors registered a sudden surge of energy as vampire blood samples across the lab began to react, responding to some invisible signal. In the medical wing, enhanced soldiers reported strange new abilities emerging, their hybrid nature evolving in ways no one had predicted. "It's spreading," Sarah reported from Washington. "Every enhanced human, every vampire. We're all changing." Madison's death wasn't just a tragedy. It was a catalyst. The captured commander thrashed against its restraints, mandibles clicking rapidly. Impossible. The probability matrices showed her elimination would prevent. "Would prevent exactly what you're seeing," Marcus interrupted, his eyes glowing with new power. "You calculated every possibility except the one that mattered. That killing her would unite us instead of weakening us. That her death would complete what her research started." Across the Earth, humans and vampires felt the change rippling through their DNA. The predecessor's final gift was activating, transforming both species into something entirely new. Madison Knight's legacy wasn't just her research, it was the biological key to unlocking humanity's full potential. In orbit, the first wave of reinforced Zixithraxian ships emerged from hyperspace, their weapons primed for planetary bombardment. But the Earth that awaited them was no longer the same world their scouts had attacked mere days ago. The true power of Dracula's bloodline was about to be revealed. The Earth's atmosphere blazed with energy as the full might of the Zixathraxian Empire descended upon the planet. Their massive battleships darkened the skies over every major city, crystalline hulls reflecting the rising sun like shattered mirrors. In Mountain Sight Echo's command center, Marcus Blackwood watched the enemy deployment with ancient eyes that now held new power. "They've arranged themselves in a perfect sphere formation," he observed. "No gaps, no weaknesses. Then we'll make our own," Captain Santos responded, his enhanced form practically humming with evolved energy. The hybrid soldiers around him stood ready, their bodies transformed by Madison's legacy into something beyond both human and vampire. Sarah Winter's voice crackled through the neural network. "Night Protocol is fully integrated across all enhanced forces. Everyone knows what's at stake." The Zixathraxian fleet struck first, their weapons burning through clouds with surgical precision. But Earth's defenders had prepared for this moment. Enhanced fighter squadrons rose to meet them, their ships now partially organic, responding to pilot thoughts with impossible speed. For Madison, the battle cry echoed across all frequencies as Elena Corvinus led the first wave. Her squadron's vessels phased through enemy fire, their hybrid technology allowing them to exist partially out of normal spacetime. They penetrated the alien formation like ghosts, materializing inside their perfect sphere. The Zixathraxians discovered too late that their logical battle plans meant nothing against an enemy that defied physics itself. Enhanced human pilots flew with vampire reflexes, while vampire commanders wielded human military precision. Their forces moved as one, linked through a neural network that pulsed with power drawn from both species' strengths. On the ground, Santos led his troops through the chaos of urban combat. Enhanced soldiers phased through buildings, ambushing alien ground forces with abilities that seemed to multiply by the hour. The predecessor genes activated by Madison's death continued to evolve, granting them powers that even the vampires had never possessed. "Their adaptive algorithms can't keep up," Rebecca Chen reported from her station, monitoring the battle through advanced sensors. "They're trying to predict our movements, but the Night Protocol makes us literally unpredictable." In high orbit, the Zixathraxian Supreme Commander Vexthor watched in growing horror as his perfect formation crumbled. Earth's defenders ignored conventional tactics, their hybrid forces striking from impossible angles, their weapons bypassing shields that had protected his species for millennia. "Launch the Worldbreaker," he commanded, activating their ultimate weapon. A massive crystalline sphere emerged from his flagship, its surface crackling with enough energy to shatter a planet's crust. Marcus smiled grimly as their sensors detected the weapon. "Now, Elena." Dr. Chen activated the final phase of Madison's research, a biological countermeasure hidden in the very DNA of their enhanced forces. Every hybrid soldier and vampire on the battlefield released a synchronized burst of energy, their combined power creating a resonance that reached into the quantum realm. The Worldbreaker's crystal matrix began to vibrate, its perfectly ordered structure disrupted by frequencies that shouldn't have existed. Cracks appeared across its surface, spreading like lightning through glass. "Impossible." Vexthor's mandibles clicked in desperation. "Our calculations were perfect." "That was your mistake," Elena's voice echoed through every alien commander's neural link. "You tried to calculate the impossible. Madison Knight's legacy isn't just about power. It's about transcending your limited vision of what's possible." The Worldbreaker shattered, its destruction creating a cascade effect through the crystalline technology of the entire Zixathraxian fleet. Ships began to break apart, their perfectly ordered structures falling into chaos. Around the globe, enhanced human and vampire forces pressed their advantage. The alien invasion force, their technology failing and their tactical doctrine in ruins, faced an enemy that had evolved beyond their ability to comprehend. As the sun set on the battlefield, the remaining Zixathraxian ships fled into deep space, leaving behind the wreckage of their perfect war machine. Earth's defenders stood victorious, transformed by their trial into something new, a hybrid species that carried humanity's spirit and vampire power in perfect balance. The galaxy would never be the same. 1 year after the Zexathraxian retreat, the Sterling Medical Research Center rose from its ashes, its new architecture blending seamlessly with the restored Boston skyline. In the main lobby, a holographic statue of Madison Knight greeted visitors, her image rotating slowly above an inscription. Through her death, 2 species found life. Marcus Blackwood stood before the dedication plaque, his enhanced form now permanently altered by the changes her legacy had brought. Behind him, Captain Santos led a group of new recruits, the first generation born with naturally stable hybrid DNA. They call it the Night Gene, Rebecca Chen explained to the assembled crowd, her own eyes now carrying the same supernatural gleam as the vampires of old. Madison's research didn't just save us. It transformed us into something entirely new. The presentation screen showed maps of human expansion into space, ships powered by hybrid technology venturing out to reclaim worlds the Zexathraxians had previously cleansed. On each planet, they found traces of predecessor influence, pieces of a legacy waiting to be recovered. The enemy's greatest mistake, Alina Corvinus addressed the United Earth Council from her position as ambassador to the stars, was assuming that killing Madison would prevent what they feared most. Instead, they catalyzed our evolution into exactly what the predecessors envisioned, guardians capable of protecting not just Earth, but all worlds under threat. In orbit, Sarah Winters commanded the newly commissioned starship Night's Dawn, its hybrid systems allowing it to phase between dimensions at will. The vessel's crew represented humanity's new reality, enhanced humans working alongside vampires, their differences dissolved by shared DNA and common purpose. Contact, her sensor officer reported. Unknown vessels at the edge of the system. The ships that approached Earth weren't Zexathraxian. Their organic crystalline design spoke of cultures that had hidden from the Empire for millennia. They came seeking the species that had done the impossible, defeated the undefeatable, evolved beyond conquest. In Mountain Site Echo, now transformed into the Knight Institute for Advanced Evolution, Dr. Chen made another breakthrough. Madison's research wasn't just about combining vampire and human DNA. She explained to Marcus as they reviewed the data. She found a way to unlock the potential in all sentient species. The predecessors didn't just want guardians, they wanted teachers. The facility's halls now house representatives from dozens of alien races, each seeking to understand the miracle that Earth had achieved. They studied the Night Protocol, learning how to awaken similar potential in their own species. At the Institute's heart, a special chamber housed Madison's original laboratory, preserved exactly as it had been on that fateful night. Her last notes remained on the computer screen, their meaning now clear. The key isn't in the blood alone. It's in the courage to evolve, to become more than what we are. General Hayes, now Earth's defense coordinator, stood with Marcus on the Institute's observation deck, watching ships from allied species arrive for the first Galactic Council. Did you ever imagine this outcome when you first revealed yourselves? Marcus smiled, remembering the centuries of hiding, of guiding humanity from the shadows. The Zexathraxians thought they were eliminating a threat. They never understood that death can be a beginning as much as an end. In the depths of space, the remnants of the Zexathraxian Empire huddled in their distant strongholds, their perfect logic shattered by an enemy that had transcended their understanding. They had killed Dracula's grandchild, never knowing that in doing so, they had fulfilled an ancient prophecy and awakened a power beyond their comprehension. The sun set on the Institute, its light catching the crystalline spires that now marked Earth's cities. In laboratories and training grounds across the planet, the next generation of enhanced humans prepared to carry Madison Knight's legacy to the stars. They would face new challenges, new enemies, but they would face them together. No longer human or vampire, but something gloriously, impossibly new. The night belonged to them now, and the galaxy would never be the same.